You're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Way below acceptable. Way below acceptable.
On this week's episode.
Come on, Mr. Smooth. Even though you gave some real mixed signals there talking about, I didn't think so. And they keep moving, and he was like, I'll never leave you again. And she does a little turn, and bam, he is on his knee. I was like, the choreography, right?
Way below acceptable.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sticky Note Conversations. This is a bonus episode because I think we'll release 2 episodes in 1 week because we had so much to talk about. So my play cousin, my brother, my favorite guest, Derek Washington, is here to talk about the Gilded Age on HBO. And I am saying that with such enunciation because Derek, who is a big fan of this show, that it has been on now for 3 seasons, still doesn't get the name of the show right. It is called The Gilded Age. So, the season finale aired Sunday night. And by the time you hear this, hopefully it'll been about a week or so. So you should have seen it. If not, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Yeah, we're going to get into it now. The Gilded Age. Why we love it. Why it's great. All the things. Derek, would you like to start?
I will say that once again, every episode managed to wrap things up just in a way that you needed to know where the story is going, but then leave you like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the next episode to see where the story is going. There were so many moments of, oh, I see a seed of this about to happen, or oh my God, I didn't see that happening. I think the way they treat their characters is so natural. And I think that they really know their characters on the show. And as we talked about, just like that, diversity, and not just like, oh, we need to have a black here and a woman there, but diversity in the writing room and in the production and in the direction shows on this show in all the characters, not just the women, not just the black characters, but the gay characters. It really shows that there's some really super talented writers and showrunners on this show, how it's done, how it's evolved. And every character seems believable. Like no one does anything that's out of pocket. There are people who are stupid and do stupid things, but no one does something that you go, they would never do that.
So I want to back up for a second for people, if you've never seen The Gilded Age, which also questioning what you're doing with your life
why are
on
you
Sundays.
Here?
But for a gist on what The Gilded Age is, it's a period drama on HBO that talks about the immense economic change during the late 1800s into the early 1900s. And there's a lot of conflict between old ways and the new ways because a lot of new money comes into play during the Gilded Age. And this is all based on actual history, right? Many of the characters are based on actual people who lived in the United States and in England during the late 1800s, early 1900s. Now, these folks are fictionalized, so this is historical fiction. Everything is not 100% accurate and that sort of thing, but it is based in the reality. And so I want to read just the synopsis that they have online. And it says that in 1882, a young Marian Brooke moves from rural Pennsylvania to New York City after the death of her father to live with her aunts, Agnes Van Ryn and Ada Brooke. Accompanied by Peggy Scott, an aspiring writer seeking a fresh start, Marian inadvertently becomes enmeshed in a social war between one of her aunts a scion of the old money set, and her stupendously rich neighbors, a ruthless railroad tycoon and his ambitious wife. Those are George and Bertha Russell. Exposed to a world on the brink of the modern age, Marian must choose if she will follow the established rules of society or forge her own path. I find this overview really interesting, and this is an HBO overview. It makes it feel like the entire series is about Marian, and I really don't think that it is. And I think that's how it started.
Yeah.
We are seeing things through her eyes for a certain amount of time, but I don't, so I think maybe they must have started like this is a story about Marian, but it isn't anymore.
I think the writing, and I'm just going to always go back to the writing. The writing is so good and the characters are so well developed that Marian, it was definitely her show. Definitely. That first season was about, she was constantly doing stuff wrong, getting taken in by people, the whole bit. It was definitely her show. And it definitely is no longer her show. If anything, she's sort of like non-needed, for lack of a better word. And the whole Lorian subplot is sort of weird. I don't know. I think they keep trying to find stuff for her to do. Like she keeps popping up in every major thing, but we can get to that later. But yes, the show has evolved. Now, who do you think show it is, or do you think it's an ensemble?
It's an ensemble. I mean, if anybody's going to be Big Bertha, this is Bertha's show. This is the Russells. This is about the Russells. The world revolves around the Russells in some way. Everyone connects back to them.
Yeah. Especially this last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think if there is a center of the universe, it's there. And Bertha specifically is trying to conduct and hold on to all of these things, because even the Black characters that are never in the room with the majority of the white characters on the show, you could have a through line back to the Russells now through the doctor. Yeah. And then, Miss Scott lives across the street, and so I think that Marian is just secondary. Yeah. She's secondary, and there's nothing wrong with her. She's just secondary. Like she doesn't have enough in life to really have enough conflict about, because she's not mean to anybody, and she didn't have to be. But it's not like that. She doesn't have like issues at school where she's teaching. Besides her love life, like that's her only like constant hurdle are these men.
It's her only storyline too.
Right. It's her only storyline. Yeah. She's not all that interested in the suffrage movement or the temperance movement. So they haven't fleshed her out enough, in my opinion. I think they really could make her more well-rounded, or even explore more with, her understanding Oscar's lifestyle, and all of that. I don't know, whatever it is. I go back to the first season when her and Peggy met, and she saved her because she didn't have any money. And Peggy was like, I'll loan you some money so you can get on this train or whatever.
You have to explain why that dynamic was interesting.
Oh, well, Peggy is Black and, a Negro in this 1882. And Marian is a white woman, blonde hair, and comes from some money, a little bit of money. She didn't have any at the time.
She's in genteel poverty.
Yes. She's not abstract
right, genteel.
Abject poverty. Yeah. And so, but because someone stole her money, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time since I saw the first
fight, and the guys grabbed her purse
or something. Yeah, and they took her train ticket or something like that. So she just got caught up in the city life.
The train ticket was $10. Which had to be a massive amount of money at the time. Right. And Peggy, who is Black, came to her rescue, and Mary was like, I have no money. What shall I do? And Mary's like, girl, I got you. And so that which set up from the very beginning how they were going to treat Black characters, to show that not all Black characters were sharecroppers or slaves or
destitute.
Yeah. And I never really thought about that before, but they set up that we're going to show you a different type of Black character in the very first scene.
Yeah. And so they get into town or whatever, and she wants to pay her back. And she goes to Brooklyn to where Peggy lives, and she
With a
brings
pair of shoes.
of used shoes in a carpet bag to her parents' house to offer it. Like, I'm not even sure, like, is it because you don't go empty handed? But I thought you brought muffins or a casserole. But she
Flowers.
brought, right, flowers to the mother or something. I don't know, coffee cake.
Right.
But here we are bringing used shoes into the home. And so she gets to the door, and then she's like, there's a servant that answers the door.
Right.
And then she's standing there, and she is so confused. She has confusion all over her face. And then when they asked what was in the bag, and she was like, I don't know why she didn't lie and just be like, why? These are to drop off at the Salvation Army.
Right. I was going to the thrift store up the street.
Right.
They give credit.
Favors. I was taking them to the cobbler to get fixed.
Because she's a sheltered white woman who has no idea of the world outside of her, which is how she got her purse stolen, which is how she made the assumptions. But she's one of those women who means well. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't see color because, all of those things. She's Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, or she is a third sister in a Jane Austen novel. One you just visit ever so often because one day she'll get married, but she keeps having...
She's Peggy in Hamilton.
No idea what that is because, I don't do Broadway.
Oh, that gay card that you're always trying to like flash at people. It's...
I keep that bad boy charged up other ways.
But all of that shows that, she was very sheltered. And, she learned from it or what have you. If I was Peggy, I would bring it up every now and again. Remember
that shoe? You brought me that
still got them shoes, girl. And she does other, like, well-intentioned white lady things. Like when Peggy is supposed to go, this was this season, she was supposed to go on the train to interview the lady who is a suffrage activist. And she's like, oh, you're back working for the newspaper again? Is the editor going? And she's
she had a little moment with,
Yes, because Peggy had a tryst, if that's what you'd like to call it, even though it was just barely a kiss, right?
But back then, that was a full-on tryst.
Oh, yeah, they feelings flared up with this man who happens to be married, Mr. Fortune. Happens to be married, and they have a thing, a moment, a connection. And Peggy's like, oh, wait, hold on. We can't be doing this because you married and I can't be here. So when Mr. Fortune asked, well, hey, can you write this story? And she's intrigued because she wants to do it. And I understand that. And also, Peggy is loosely based off of Ida B. Wells, right? And so very much a newspaper woman, very much a journalist, very much wanting to be an activist and all of these things. So this is right up her alley, and she doesn't want to say no.
But she's Marian knows about the tryst.
But Marian knows about the tryst, but she says it in front of Ada, I think.
Yeah. Well, okay, so they're about to...
But she was running her mouth too much, and she's like, and you could see her looking at her, and she's like, girl, shut up.
Right. You could see the two aunties like, I don't know what y'all talking about, but I know y'all talking about something. Like, we ain't stupid, so what's going on here? So again, Peggy's... So let's go into Peggy. Peggy has a secret past, and it's scandalous. And Peggy is haunted by this past. Explain her past.
I don't know that I can. So this is the part that is a little bit confusing to me.
That's why I put it on you.
So, which is rude. So this is what I know. Peggy's parents, Peggy's father is a formerly enslaved man who has made it through and now is an entrepreneur and a married man and wanting to be involved like in the school board and all these different things. Like he is dignified, all these things. Peggy's mother, I believe, has been free all of this time. Like her family was free. And so,
but not, not wholly,
but mostly.
Yeah, she was never a slave.
She was never enslaved. So they are lifted up, in the upper echelon of blackness.
Because her family didn't want her marrying him because he was not to their level.
Yes. And so Peggy met some man, and this is where I get foggy. Whoever this man was that she had married, she shouldn't have married. Like nobody approved of him, whatever, what have you. And she was headstrong and she married him anyway. No idea. And then she got pregnant. Her daddy annulled the marriage and was like, you can't be married to this man, which I don't know why. I don't know what his problem was.
And did he die or did he just go away? Because I got the impression that he died. Because she didn't divorce him. She annulled it. And then what happened? So she had a baby. Then what happened?
She had a baby and the childbirth was so bad that she passed out. And so when she woke up, there was no baby anymore. And so they said the baby had died. And so when actuality, her father had put the baby up for adoption and got rid of the baby. And nobody else knew that, including Peggy's mother. But the thing is, I don't know about, because her Dr. Bo, what's his name? Dr.
Kirkland.
Kirkland.
Dr. Kirkland
asked, so is she divorced? And no one really answers the question. Right. So anyway, we know that it was annulled. So, but how do you annul a marriage that produces a child? That's normally not something you can do. But I don't know. Peggy's daddy, obviously, can
he's
do what
somebody,
he won't do.
yeah.
Right. And so whether or not he's dead or not now, I don't know. I don't think he is. I feel like there was an episode where she said, oh, he's out there somewhere. So I think he'll show up. He'll probably show up
at the way, or Dr. Kirkland's mama will find him.
There'll be that.
Yeah.
So that's all I know. And so, yeah, I can't, and someone else might be able to explain it better. Hopefully somebody can explain it.
Someone in the comments.
I don't know. It gets real convoluted right there. And I really would love to know more, because was he formerly enslaved and his daddy didn't? I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. What could a formerly enslaved person look down on another person for? Like, you know,
look, we find stuff to look down on people for. We make up stuff.
So I'm dying to know what his. I
mean, maybe he was a drunkard. You know, we didn't like the drunkards.
A drunkard or
a gambler.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe he had another wife somewhere else. Who knows?
So Peggy, who has a checkered history,
which is so bad that's considered checkered. Like, you married a man and then you had a baby and it died.
You know,
you are a tainted woman.
What I was thinking is Peggy, and this goes back to the sexualized Black woman trope. Peggy is probably the only one on the show that has had a lot of sex. When you think about it, maybe George Russell has had more sex than her, or what's the little gay one's name, Oscar. Now, because he's living in a closet, he's maybe had it 3 times. Peggy's been riding the wild horse.
But he goes out. He was going to the park. That's how he got mugged.
Yeah,
so, he was out there finding a little something.
I have a friend. One day we were talking about the Cosby Show, and he said to me casually, he said, yeah, we used to love that show. We knew no Black people lived like that, but we thought it was really cool anyway. My world stopped because I was like, what? What did you just say? He goes, yeah, we know that was all made up, that Black people didn't live like that. And I was like, that was my life. We were Huxtables. So anyway, one of the things about this show that I like is the fact that they acknowledge this whole other world, because I knew it existed. You know, my great-grandfather was a Pullman porter, which was, if you weren't a doctor, that was the highest achievement. Pastor, doctor, Pullman porter. So I grew up in a huge townhouse, like the Van Ryns, it's just as dark, with the same wood accents, the whole bit. And we had a carriage house. So I get that life. And I like the fact that they acknowledge it. So Peggy is now with a doctor who saved her life when she had the influenza, whatever they had back then. And his mother does not approve of her because of all of the things about her father and all that stuff. What did you think? I sort of felt like Peggy should have told him earlier about her past, but then I was sort of like, at what point do you bust that news out?
I used to be married. I had a kid. I ain't fresh.
That's the thing, because in those days, that was a bit much not to tell this dude, you ain't gonna be the first one there. Unless you're a widow, that's sort of like hard to sell to a prominent man back then.
Right. Which we know he ain't fresh either.
That doesn't matter. He's a man. Let's be honest.
Yes, no, I know.
She got a body count. And he could, he's probably done 3 in his lifetime. But,
Well, yes, because I'm sure there are Negro houses of the ill repute.
Oh,
ill repute.
Everybody been to New Orleans once, On the south side of Philly.
I was just there yesterday.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I was in New Orleans yesterday.
That's right.
I don't know, because you're out in the garden having a picnic, you're taking a walk with your parasol, you're, holding hands in the parents' living room. Like, there's not an opportune time. She kept saying, there's so much more I want to tell you. There's so much more you need to know. And he was like, oh, we have time for that or whatever. They always do that. But, it's that point of, do I like you enough to tell you these things? Is this going to go somewhere?
Or do I trust you enough?
You know me enough to know me and not make assumptions then about X, Y, and Z.
Right. Because at some point in that day and age, you've not only had sex, you've had a whole ass child. And that means you're tarnished. So I think the average man probably would have just turned tail and left. But do you think that Dr. Kirkland has something to prove to his mama, or does he really love Peggy that much?
No, I think he loves Peggy. Oh, I think he absolutely, positively loves Peggy. Like, he's been smitten with her since day one, since she was sweating out that cold. He was like, this is the lady.
Put Vicks Vapor Rub on her boobies. And I'm like, already, that's a little intimate.
But he's a doctor. But yes, she had her little, plaits in her hair or whatever. And he saw her and was like, oh, I'm smitten already. Yeah, and he is attracted to her brain. He wants to talk about women getting the vote and talk about her articles that she's written. He wants to hear her speak. Like, he is interested in her as a whole person, not just like, you look pretty and you look like you could have my kids sort of thing. And she's made it perfectly clear that, I'm a writer and I'm writing this book. And it doesn't seem like he wants to stifle that and tell her she can't write anymore. And that you just got to stay home and birth babies. I think that he is totally in love with this woman for all the right reasons. And he's not looking to tie her down and not let her fly to be the greatest version of herself.
Question. Do you think they'll actually get married? Because if I'm not mistaken, I did not see her say yes.
She didn't, but I don't think it matters. I think because what I've noticed with the Gilded Age is that they kind of flow through things. And I think it was an implied yes.
They're so good at cliffhangers, though, that I could see her being like, I can't give it all up. Just not yet. I could see her.
No, not the way she was crying on them steps when she was like, and her mom said, you are worthy. You are worthy of having a husband who gives you grace and understands your life and all of that and loves you for who you are. And she's like, it doesn't feel like it. So she wants that. And she said, I want to be a wife and a mother. So I have no doubt that she's saying yes. If they're trying to cliffhanger that to think that the mama's going to come over there and say something or whatever, I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think it's going to flow right into either they're planning the wedding or they're already married next season.
Should he die? Here's why.
Julian Fellows.
Yeah, because I'm like.
Julian Fellows, you see what he did to Matthew.
Right.
Like right in the middle. Like Matthew is at the happiest moment of his life. He is driving down the street, just do, and then you just kill him.
Yeah.
So I don't put nothing past Julian Fellows.
Because to me, Peggy can't be happy right now, or she can't lose focus.
And I want people to see you do both. Ida B. Wells was married.
Was she?
Yes, and she was married to a lawyer.
She was a lesbian. She was so successful. Because back then.
Right, you couldn't have both. You could not have both.
I always assumed
Ida B. Wells was married, and she was married to a lawyer, and she had children because Ida B. Wells' granddaughter lived in Las Vegas for a long time. She must have.
Okay.
And so it's possible, and I would love to be able to see that. Like, stop playing like nobody did it. Just because everybody didn't do it, somebody did it. And I think for me as a Black woman and a journalist, independent
see
and
yourself
strong,
in the character.
I need to see that all men aren't ridiculous and that oppress you and keep you from being great and using your brain, that you can use your brain and have some kids,
You know what?
and be a good wife and still travel on the train and go interview people.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, clock twink.
Why did that become a thing? And so now you set this up and explain that.
Okay, so Jack was a footman in the Van Ryn household. He had been tinkering on clocks forever, and evidently back in the day, the clocks were not reliable because of they needed some sort of mechanism that had to have a certain sort of oil, and it wasn't reliable. And so he tinkered and tinkered and tinkered until he finally came up with the solution. He then went around the house. Everybody gave him money for a patent. And, he finally got his patent.
It's called a patent.
Yeah. And then Larry Russell, who lives across the street, the really rich son of Bertha and George, and the beau of Marian, her latest beau, they went into business together, sold the patent for $600,000, which in today's money is about $9 million. And so now he's rich, because $9 million back then must have been almost Bezos money. That had to be some serious money. And so now Mrs. Armstrong, she's been bitter since day one. And she basically...
she's a bitter woman.
Yeah, bitter. So she basically made it seem like he would be disrupting the home. And that's the only home he's ever known. So he doesn't want to leave. But she goes and tells Mrs. Van Ryn that it's upsetting the servants, which it's not. So anyway, he moves into his own house. And I think that... And so online, especially with the gays, they call him Clock Twink. Because he's adorable. He's so cute.
He is. He's like 6'3" though, so it's really hard for me.
It's hard to be a twink. Okay. But yeah. But he's so adorable. And so I think his storyline is going to be interesting to follow, because the maid across the street gave him no time of day. But when he got money...
She told him he was above himself. So does she know? Because I never saw her...
She knows. It was very, yo, you look good now. You look like a pork chop. Whereas the maid in the Van Ryn household, who was always supportive of him, she's showing feelings, but I think her feelings started beforehand. And he had feelings for her beforehand. But Clock Twink now, he got money. He got a house.
Money.
Yeah. He's going to start meeting other women. So I don't even know her name, Adelaide or something. I don't know. Anyway, she came over to visit him and bring him some hearty soup, like poor people eat, because he needed some grits and some chitlins. So she brings
lamb stew.
Which is white people
before
chitlins.
You get to that, because you got to set that part up, because Jack was at the Van Ryn's house hanging out. Because he was lonely, probably.
Yeah.
And he's down there, and he's like, yeah, I have, a cook, but she doesn't cook as well as you do. And I've got some ladies. So Bridget's like, so does she clean too? And he's like, no, I got 2 girls that come in every day and clean. And she was like,
what they look like?
Are they young girls? The rest of the table down there, Armstrong, all of them was looking like, wait, girl, what?
Why you care?
He was like, young girls? And he was like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I don't know how old they are. Right. And she was like, So you have to say all of that before you talk about her bringing over.
This is true, because then she showed up with fixed him a plate.
She showed up in her cute new dress.
Yeah,
and she was like, I just need to make sure you had some lamb stew. It's your favorite. We thought you looked a little skinny. She was like, no, I need to see what these hoes look like.
Right. I've been riding with you since we were both in the basement. Right.
And now I'm steady. And did you see the maid? Did you see how the maid looked at her? Because she was like, Bridget is here. Right. And then she's standing there the whole time with her little stupid maid cap on, and she's looking at her.
He's young. He's common. So he's achievable.
And he got a lot of money that he don't know what to do with, and he gonna need some guidance. She was standing there like, here's your food. He was like, sit down. Oh, should I? Yes.
She was real like, I can't sit down. I'm the help. And
I'm the servant. He's like, not in this house. You the master's guest.
There's a shot where she sits down, and as he's walking back to his seat, you can tell she looks up at the ceiling, and you can tell she is scanning the place like, I actually do like him, but this don't hurt.
Right. No, yeah, she does like him. And she's been very supportive of him and all of that. But no, the moment he said he had 2 girls coming to the house, she was like, no.
So you know who I think that he's going to end up with?
Ooh.
Marian. I'll tell you why.
You're not the only person. People online are saying
really?
that.
I can see it because there's been a couple of times where she has been more than gracious to him, and he has returned the favor on a couple of times. And I just think that there's some unnecessary intimacy between the two of them that it's subtle, but I really do think that she makes sense.
It is subtle, and I could see it. I mean, Marian running through these bows, come on now.
And that would give him the needed conflict with Larry Russell.
True. Now, thinking of that conflict, do you think that Larry deserved half?
Yeah, I'm okay with it because I thought he was going to screw Clock Twink over completely. So
I
yes.
didn't. I never thought that. I never thought he was going to screw him over. He certainly wasn't giving him the credit he deserved because he was like, oh, I'll go to these meetings by myself. But I think he just thought he was a lowly servant and wouldn't be able to hold his own in a meeting. And instead of saying, let me train you so that you would know how to be in the space, you just took it as, let me just do it and I'll take over. Yeah. But not so much that he wasn't going to give him his due. I don't know, it's maybe 60-40 maybe would have felt better to me.
I was okay with half because I think that Clock Twink invented it.
But next time, this mixer that he's looking at, that he's trying to build, and think about, he ain't doing half and half on the mixer.
I think they definitely will have conflict. I can't either over a woman or over a business deal, but
that would be too messy if it was Marian.
Because everybody on the block's going to be like, really, girl? We saw you with him. He's a servant. You just,
right. You had Mr. Rakes. You had cousin Dashel.
He was left at the bus station already. Like, you messy. You just messy. Maybe that's her thing. Maybe that is how she will establish herself in the series. She's just messy Marvin. She's just always out here to making bad decisions and running men. I don't know.
Marian can't keep a man, Brooks. That's
right. Speaking of running men, can we talk about Oscar? Oscar is straight up pimp.
It's some glasses.
Oscar looks at you and says, money. This is what we're about. Let's make a business deal. So Mrs. Winterhaven is Bertha Russell's former lady maid. She tried to seduce George Russell by showing up in his bed naked and thought she was going to be the mistress. He threw her out, but when Bertha found out about it, Bertha found out about it, threw a fit, and then threw George out of her bedroom for months, it seems like. They finally worked that out. But so the lady's maid then shows up later on with this old crotchety man, Mr. Winterhaven. He's on death's doorstep. Finally, she gets invited. So he dies, and there's a whole bunch of deal making to get her invited to this ball, which we'll talk about in a bit.
They just really kill him off. Like,
yeah, he's just gone. You are no longer needed.
They're like, he's sickly. I mean, dead.
Right. Because he was feisty, though. He wasn't like, I'm about to die. But she was real Betty Davis. She was real, I want you to die. I'm waiting for you to die.
That's why I'm here.
Right. So anyway, Oscar says to her straight up, you want to be in society? I want your money. Let's do this. Come get some of this, Oscar. He gave probably the most ruthless wedding proposal that I've ever seen in my life. He was like, look, let's make a deal. Your money, my connections, you'll be a member of society, finally. The one thing that she can't refuse. And she said to him, let's meet for lunch. This is a straight up business deal.
Lavender marriage of all time.
Of all time. And there's got to be a historical equivalent to this that they're basing this on, because it was ruthless. It's like he don't even know her, she don't know him, and he targeted her. And
well, he's known her since this first season. He knew of her,
right? He knew of, and he knows her secrets. He knows what she did with George, and he's a ruthless dude, like closeted gay on his way up.
Thinking about something that you said to me a long time ago about a lot of these times these shows make the gay character evil or just like they're up to something. They're sneaky. They just can't be gay.
Because gay people have to be sneaky. I mean, that's just historically correct.
So, but sneaky and making them the bad guy though. But with Oscar, I feel like they are not making him the bad guy.
They're making him sympathetic.
Yes, and he's made mistakes and all of that, but he's not out to get anybody. So even with this lavender marriage, it's more like he knows he has to be married at some point, and he knows that he knows he can't be poor, and he knows he needs to bring money. And
he knows he don't want to work.
He don't really want to work. That's true. He do want to be a kept man, but he does want to like make his mother whole again. Yeah. Like I think he has his guilt there, and that being your mother.
And she never lets him forget. I thought that we had moved on.
No, she's not gonna move on ever. She always gonna be like, even when she has all her money back.
Right. What happened the last time.
Right. And so I think that it'll be advantageous for him, like if he marries her and she has all this money, that he can also make sure his mother is well taken care of for the rest of her life too. But also he has the cover so he can go and get his dick wet.
All I want to do is zoom, 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 zoom.
And room. And so that's why because he was like, you have a house in the country or whatever, a cottage. I have a cottage. We won't go to each other's cottages without permission.
Right. I was like, Oscar, just slow it down.
No, he planned it out like, sir, like you don't even have any KY jelly. You just going straight for it. He was very like, you got a cottage? I got a cottage. We won't come to each other's cottages, but in the city, we will look like we love each other. And you have a lot of money and I have a lot of connections.
She didn't even pretend to be offended. She was like,
no.
She had the world's first computer because it was going. He
was like, I might be a lesbian too.
I got the real impression she was like, whatever this needs to happen, it'll happen.
Right. Ain't got to consummate nothing.
Okay, so let's go to George. How about George and Bertha? So George, her husband.
Come on, rail daddy.
Right. Oof, rail this. So he is ruthless. He's the epitome of ruthless, as is Bertha. And he has done all this stuff and he gets shot. We don't know who shot him. But one of the things he says, and then I find this really problematic for how he treats Bertha later. He says to the detective, his private eye, I think it's so-and-so. Find out if he did it and don't be nice about it. Be rough. And earlier, there's been a couple of times where he said things like, I should have killed him or I should have had him killed about different people. So he gets shot. Bertha goes into full Bertha mode. Bertha is like, I got this handled. I love you. Don't die on me. Nothing about his money. It was about the love for that man. Now, he has been living at the club since Bertha married off Gladys to the Duke, her daughter.
I want to know more about this club.
Oh, they all had them. Every man had a club.
I want to see the inside of the club.
You can't, you're a woman. That's how it works. So anyway, he's moved off to the club as his son has, because his son believes that Bertha had something to do with Miss Marian, the town tramp. Like breaking off their engagement. But I guess there's so many things we have to circle back to. But Bertha goes through all this stuff. There's this ball. Everything's wonderful. And then he decides that he's going back to the club and treats her like crap. How do you feel about how he's acting? I mean, I felt very... did Aiden make it over to this show and put on a hot suit?
Aiden in a hot suit. Because real daddy. He is real daddy.
Real? Oof. Third rail me.
I don't even know what that means. But this is my gripe about the Gilded Age is that because it's so short and it's only 8 episodes, everything is sort of compressed and condensed in a way that makes it really difficult for me because since the beginning, I hadn't been able to put my finger on what the issue was, is that how much I liked it, but I didn't love it the way I loved Downton Abbey. And I couldn't figure it out. And it hit me just in this season is that the seasons are too short and you don't drag out the drama. So him getting shot should have been 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Him getting shot and getting better all basically in what felt like a day. We don't really know how much time has passed.
Right.
We know Gladys has been married for at least 4 months because she's knocked up now. She just hit the 4-month mark. So say it's been 5 or 6 months since she got married, just to give it a little bit of space. Right. And because you don't really know the time, everything feels like, well, why is this happening so fast? And so I think if they would have stretched out to his recovery, then it wouldn't feel like such a shock that he was leaving, because he would have had time to lay there and he would have been contemplating his life. And he has time to stew and be like, she made me feel weak. He really hated that he felt weak. He couldn't give Gladys what he said he would give her, which was the idea that she could marry for love. And he promised her that. And then he had to renege on it. And I think that really affected him in a way. So when he sat down there waiting on her to come downstairs to see if she was even going to come downstairs for that wedding, and he was like, I'll call it off if you don't want me to. But at the same time, it almost felt like he was stuck, like I actually can't do this. And so
I think he was hoping that she wouldn't come down the stairs.
I think he was. And because she did, and then he felt like, I let my little girl down, and she's a daddy's girl. She loves her daddy, all these things. So I think all of that is going through her head. And it was never confirmed that Bertha didn't have anything to do with why Marian called off the engagement to Larry.
Why didn't somebody clear that up?
But they didn't clear it up for them. And Bertha was like, well, if she don't want to be married, then she don't want to be married to you. Like, maybe, and so they make an assumption, and she's being so bossy or what have you. And as much as she was affected by him getting shot and how much she does love him, he's not seeing it. And so I don't think it was so much like a 180 or anything. I think he was just like, I said I would do this because I said I would do it, because he also knew the benefit, because he didn't want anybody to think, no, he got shot. So that's the only reason he played the game. But he was like, I don't really want to play games with you, because you don't put me first, and nor do you put the children first in my mind. Now, I will also say that, probably, unpopular opinion, I don't blame Bertha for forcing her daughter to get married to the Duke, because we can't think about marriage through a 2025 lens. Women had no choices but to get married. You had to marry somebody. And she was like, I'm not going to put you in some cage somewhere to be married to somebody who ain't got nothing. Because it wasn't just about Bertha being the mother of a duchess, but she was like, I do want better for my daughter. I want you to be able to be in power and be in control and take control of your life in a way. And that was the only way to have control of your life, was to be in a marriage with the right amount of money, and you could dictate some of your future. Otherwise, women couldn't dictate their futures at all. So I don't blame her. Like, it sucked, but also she did vet the Duke. Like, she didn't just pick some raggedy man just because he had money. I think if the Duke would have been an asshole, I don't think Bertha would have made her daughter marry an asshole. She saw that
Gladys could control, because Gladys is Bertha's daughter, it turns out.
Because he is very malleable.
Yeah.
And he's nice, though. He's nice. He's sweet. All of that. So she did fine there, but her husband, he's like, no, you forced me to do something I didn't want to do, and I'm a man, and you can't tell me what to do.
And see, that's
his
the part.
His ego is so bruised. And he said it more than once. You've made me look weak.
Yeah.
But
that's on you. Don't
like that.
That's on you, George.
But he's a man.
Yeah.
Let's go back to him being a man. And forward facing, he thinks other people saw him looking weak, which is why he got shot. So he is blaming her by, in a domino effect, that I got shot because I looked weak, because you made me look weak, and I didn't have what I needed to have to do. So it's her fault, because let's blame it on the woman.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think you summed it up perfectly. I thought for sure that he was going to come out of that like, I saw you get me through this. He showed more respect to the Black doctor than he did to her. Yeah,
How much money do you think he actually gave him?
Figure it this way. $100 was a lot of money. I'm assuming he did more than that. I assume 500 or 1,000, which you got to remember, that's a lot. That's Cadillac money.
I think it's more than that.
You think so? I was actually expecting him to say, I'm going to fund a new Negro hospital or something. That's what I was expecting.
Because when he said that amount of money is worth my life or something, I think there's some zeros on the end. I think like 25,000 somewhere in there. So let's talk about real quick the House of Ill Repute. The House of Disarray. There's so
prostitution whore.
Where the ladies or the gentlemen shake their shimmy.
Because you can have whatever you want there if that's your thing.
If that's your thing. If that's your and so which means homosexuality is not that big of a deal.
And out in the open.
Your thing.
Out in the open.
Right, out in the open. Like you just do what you want to do. But do you feel like Marian really overreacted with the whole thing?
Girl,
like,
sit down.
So Larry proposes to Marian in this beautiful scene with her giant bustle. And he's like, will you marry me? And she's like, yeah. They tell her aunts. And then he's like, well, I got to go out. I'm heading to Delmonico's with the homies. And
that's where he messed up.
Come. Right. And he said it because it was in front of his aunts. But he could have just said, I got plans tonight that I can't break.
Me and
I
my
can
boys.
talk to you about it later.
And I'm taking,
me and
I'm
the boys,
taking Clock Twink with me. Yeah.
Right. We're going out. We're going to do some man things. Right. And so they go to the House of Ill Repute. He doesn't even have a drink. You know, he's just there with the homies doing whatever. And then he sees old girl, Malt Beaton, and finds out that she works there at the House of Ill Repute.
Works.
And so works. She's a working lady.
Yeah.
Doing her thing. And so, of course he has to tell Oscar, which is how he gets back to Marian. And here we go. And then Marian's like, oh my God, I can't believe I can never marry a man who would go into one of those places and do these things. And why would he do that?
But why was Oscar running his mouth?
I don't know, because Oscar didn't have to say all that. Like, as much as I'm not a liar and I don't like lies, like I'm not a person who feels the need to lie, but there are certain things that you just don't have to say. And they just make things more complicated than they need to be. But the point of the matter is, even Oscar's like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And she's like, no, it's a huge deal. And Ada was like, oh, well, do you think you should talk to him? No, I can't talk to him. And
that was the other thing.
And then you write a letter. You know he's on the other side of the country. I'm going to write a letter and leave it with your butler. And I'm
not saying because you lied. Just be like, yeah.
You got a dirty dick. And
right,
I don't want nothing to do with you.
Right. It's been up in places. So it reminds me, and I'm going to show my age again. The Dick Van Dyke Show. Mary Tyler Moore played Laura Petrie, his young, attractive wife, who was slightly, later on she became an alcoholic, I'm sure. But anyway, she used to get mad. And he would say, what did I do? Well, if you don't know, I'm certainly not going to tell you. And that was how Marian acted. Like, how am I supposed to know why you broke up with me? Because now I'm thinking, what did I do? What did I get busted on? And I just feel like he should not have lied. And if I found out that my man went to the hoe house or the trap house after he told me he was going to grits, yeah, I'd be pissed. But you got to think about the big picture. First of all, talk to him. Make him tell you to your face what went on. And secondly, get an agreement that that was a bachelor party. Get an agreement that that's not going to happen again. And thirdly, girl, look at your house, look at his house. Do some math. This ain't your first time at the rodeo, so you don't get very many more chances. So I think she's overreacting, and I think everybody there thinks she's overreacting.
Nobody thinks she's not overreacting. She should have asked. And she should have at least had the conversation. It just showed how immature and childish she was, because she didn't even say, okay, so explain to me why I know that you were there. And if
but is she looking for an out? It seems to me like she wants to be a spinster. Yeah. She wants a companion.
She's like, I might as well be a spinster. I won't get hurt. And that's when Ada was like, do you even understand what that means? Like, that's not what you want. Because she kept saying, it's my past and I've been hurt by men. The only man she was hurt by was Rakes, as far as I know.
Yeah, because she hurt other dude. She hurt the second dude.
Dashiell, she broke up with him and she was like, I don't love you, because she wasn't in love with him. And then he was still mourning the death of his wife.
Right.
So
when he called out his old dead wife's name, I was like, oh.
Right. And then she felt on the spot because when he proposed, it was in front of everybody. And she was like, I'm sorry, what?
Cookout.
Exactly. They really did, which was so embarrassing because she was like, and people were like,
right,
nodding their head, yes. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay. So
wasn't Oscar looking at her for a minute when he thought she had money? I think Oscar looks at her.
No, because they're first cousins. First cousins. That's gross. We can't do that. Like, I don't even think they did that.
Okay.
So, but regardless of all of that, she was immature and she just didn't even give it a chance to understand. So yeah, you could be right. She could, like, will they get together? I don't know, because that part didn't end. The season finale didn't end with an agreement that they went
and took a walk. They were comfortable with taking a walk together.
They danced. They danced together and they were like, could we do this? And it's like, well, we won't figure it out tonight. So yes, so the hole is open for Clock Twink to get in there.
Yeah, I can see him getting in there.
But Bridget will throw hands. Let that be a thing.
And Bridget's like, I'm from the docks. I got here on a boat. I probably signed a 7-year contract.
Bridget gonna find some little sprinkle to put in Marian's food and be like, and
oh, I'm sorry, you seem to be running a fever. Okay, we probably have
no. You know what's her face from Downton Abbey? What was Thomas's friend name?
Oh, the one who put the soap on the floor and killed the baby.
O'Brien. Yes, O'Brien. Where's O'Brien when you need her? Because somebody gonna slip on a bar of soap.
When they do the cross episode, that's how Bridget will get in there. So I was gonna say the best shot of the entire show was when Mrs. Vanderbilt arrived, and it was from behind.
Oh,
and she had that coat on, and the coat was like this Art Nouveau. It was intricate.
Mrs. Astor.
Astor, yeah. When she showed up, they took the coat off of her. It was all from behind. The light was hitting her. And then they come out to the front, and she's got on the war jewels. Like, there's $1 million sitting on her.
Like
right.
I'm gonna bite this with my teeth. Like, come on now.
And when they take the coat off of her and they switch to her jewels, she's like, now this ball can begin.
Right.
She upstaged Bertha at her own ball, and Bertha was happy about it.
Right. But so the one thing I thought was interesting is that when they introduced her, he just said Mrs. Astor. He didn't call her Mrs. Jacob
caught that too.
Astor. And I was like, that's interesting.
Because the couple before her, they went through the whole thing. And when they said the name, I thought, oh, is this going to be her with, but no. Because
everybody gets called by their husband's name.
Yeah. Which is her own thing.
Which is so archaic and weird. People still do it. You like it, which is why I never took nobody's last name.
It's not even a hyphen. But yeah, I thought that scene, the other thing about that scene that got me, and they didn't even really mention it, the electricity.
Yes, but she called it go spend time on our terrace and enjoy the illumination. And the illumination was amazing because when they were at the Van Ryn household, there's a scene and there's candles on the wall. And I remember thinking how my great grandmother used to tell me how dangerous it was back in the day when they had candles everywhere. Because I lit a candle once and she freaked out like, we don't do that around here. Like, we got electricity, boy. So the fact that they have illuminated that house in the last year or so. Right.
And that's a lot. Yeah, because remember when they first got electricity at the bridge?
Uh-huh.
And
I know they were so excited.
Yeah. Now she was like, okay, I need that for the house. Like,
bring it in.
Right. Hire people.
I have to tell you my scene that I think is the most beautiful scene. It is the scene when Peggy is dancing with the man that don't matter. And when Prince Charming, Dr. Kirkland walks in.
That's totally what he looks like.
And she's dancing and she looks so beautiful in that dress. It's like a pale pink color, and her hair, everything is beautiful. And she turns around and like stops but still dancing and still every time you turn her head, she's looking at him.
Stunned.
And
She
he's
gets a
just
little off
smiling.
balance.
But he's just smiling, walking towards, like he is so focused on her, like he ain't paying no attention that she's dancing with whoever. He don't care. He's
Morris
just like
Chestnut.
walking towards her. it could have been Boris Kojo, and he was
Right.
like,
Right.
and I'm walking towards you, and she's just, and then she just stops. And he was like, "Can I have this dance?" And the guy, like he was gonna say no. Even when I said no, he would have been like,
he's like, the energy's about to burn me. So y'all go ahead and
he
dance.
just moves off to the side,
Right.
and then they start dancing. And it was so smooth when he was like, she was like, "I thought it was over." And he was like, "I didn't think so." Which I thought, first of all, come on, Mr. Smooth. Even
Right.
though you gave some real mixed signals there talking
Right.
about, I never said, I didn't think so. And they keep moving, and he was like, "I'll never leave you again." And she does a little turn, and bam, he is on his knee. I was like, the choreography right here,
Yeah.
like there wasn't anything awkward about it. The way he smoothly turned around and was like, "Marry me."
I thought when in that
And
scene,
the room just spread apart.
the choreography in that scene, I thought, wow, they're taking all of these people who are dancing are obviously extras from Broadway.
Stars.
Yeah, there's black actors get to dress up in these beautiful
work.
clothes, and they got to do this in this moment of just ultra luxury and treat it just as well as all of the other folks. Definitely noticed that scene had more of an impact than just the scene.
It was better than anything happening over at Bertha's house.
Yeah, well, as usual, the food was probably seasoned too.
It was
Yeah,
lovely. The music was better.
Yeah, it had a beat. That was the other thing. I looked at the black musicians and I thought, y'all got a good job. This ain't a Tyler Perry movie. Y'all got a real job.
But that whole scene, which is why I'm like, oh, that engagement happened. Because that was two. That wasn't like, "Can I talk to you? Can I go talk to you in the corner?" Like if he would have pulled her aside and been like, "I'm sorry, blah, 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 blah," and then he would have proposed,
It could have
and
been
it
like
was,
Marian,
and she didn't say anything, then I might question. That right there was her fairy tale of her happy ending. Did you even notice her little
Ooh, it
strap
felt,
slid down a little bit on her shoulder?
I was like, ho.
She was like, hello.
It was like a tiny bit of a fraction of an inch, and it was so
just
sexy.
enough. It was so delicate. It was such a delicate, but yet not slutty in any way.
Yeah.
Like, yes, daddy, again. Hey, daddy.
Yeah. That is so funny
yes.
you noticed that. So that means
they's getting married. They will get married, I swear. Otherwise, I'm coming after Julian Fellows. Okay,
Yes.
now we can talk about predictions.
What do you predict?
Peggy, she will be Mrs. Kirkland,
Okay.
Dr. Kirkland. I predict it. His mama will probably try to ruin something somewhere along the way.
Right.
I predict that her ex-husband, whoever he is, ain't dead, will show up. Somebody will find him. He will be around and do something nefarious.
We weren't actually annulled. I have the paperwork.
Right. That wasn't the baby that died. It was a different
Right.
baby.
It's this kid right here.
And he's 12.
Right. Mama.
Mr. Fortune gonna come back around. The publisher, he gonna come around.
He's
and
definitely gonna come
it's
back.
gonna be some more with your light skin on light skin crime happening.
Yeah, he's definitely coming back.
I think that, it's gonna get contentious with the vote because, white women turned on black women in the end when it came to the suffrage movement. And so when it came down to it and they had to decide where their alliance was, they threw black women under the bus and they were like, yeah, we can't, we want the vote so bad and we can't get it with you around. And so we have to push you off to the side. So that's going to cause friction in the household. And that's going to cause friction between like the Van Ryns and Peggy and all of that because, well, not necessarily Van Ryns because Agnes is very progressive for a rich white lady.
She has proven several times.
Right, because she is very much like, we've always been around Black people.
Yeah.
Our father would, gave to the endowment of the Negro school or whatever. And so be nice to people sort of situation. But there will be some tension there when it comes to the Black women getting the right to vote too. I think that's going to happen. The Russells are going to get divorced. And then I think Bertha deep down knows that or already knew that, which is why she let divorced women come to the party, because she don't want to not be able to come to the party. So she was like, I'm going to start letting these divorced ladies come to the party and not make it such a thing. And so that when my husband divorces me, I am still a part of society. Right. And so I think that that's what's going to happen. And she's going to have to navigate the social circles without her husband being there, which is a shame because I really enjoyed them as a couple.
Yeah.
They seem like they loved each other. They seem like they
and
liked
they're cut
touching
from the
each
same
other.
cloth.
Right. And they seem like they actually enjoyed being like intimate with each other in that way. And so I think it's a shame. Marian and Larry, I don't know.
Marian.
Larian, as people call it. I could see the whole Jack Marian thing sort of kind of happening. That would really cause a fuss because that's an upstairs downstairs sort of situation. But it would make her look real flighty and ditzy, like she just can't keep it together for nothing. But I mean, she did really good with the gunshot. Maybe she can go be a nurse. I don't know.
She held her hands on something.
When she jumped on that table, like she was ready. So maybe she wants to work at the hayride.
I'm looking for purpose in life.
Quite possibly. So yeah, I think that's up in the air. I do think that Clock Twink, which we're not going to keep calling him that, but here we are. I do think that he will invent some other stuff. It's just going to get richer. He's just going to get more and more money. He ain't got nothing but time on his hand because I don't really know what those rich people do besides sit around and eat and read the newspaper.
And he's not that type. He wasn't born like that. He's used to getting up and going to work.
Right. And so that's why he was like, I got to find somewhere to hang out. He don't have no friends.
Yeah.
So I think that he's just going to get down to work and start inventing other things. And he's just going to make more and more money and then start going to the opera. And I think Mrs. Fish is going to have some more dope parties. And I think that Astor is finally going to get divorced from her husband. We'll finally meet him at some point. I think he's
got to come off the yacht with his girls.
At some point, he has to get off the boat. So I think we'll meet him hopefully next season too. And that'll cause some sort of friction there. I mean, now that Agnes Van Ryn will be the vice president of the Historical Society, whatever that means. So she's going to do something that's going to cause some drama somewhere, or she's going to keep somebody from being able to build something. Right.
You are not tearing down that barn.
And then she's going to find out she's going to be a part of the Historical Society, which is up in the Catskills where Oscar's cottage is and his soon-to-be Lavender wife's cottage is. And she's going to have to go up there and she's going to walk in on some homosexual intimacy.
She's already got an inkling. This is true.
That ain't more than inkling. She ain't got an inkling. She know. Oh, she know. Because she watched him, that scene.
When he broke down over his dead lover that nobody knew about.
What is this about?
Clock Twink invented a clock that was in her head that was slowly going tick, tick, tick. And she
took a look and she was like, oh, he was your lover.
Yeah, you could just see like frame by frame by frame by frame. She was figuring it out. And they looked at her like, she's figuring it out. Shut up. Just shut up.
Well, see, I still thought maybe Ada didn't really know, but then Ada was like,
Ada figured it out a lot quicker
than we expected.
And I think Ada saw what Marian was trying to cover for, because Ada's real good to jump in and cover. Like, she's not stupid. She's quick on that. So are those your predictions?
Yes. Oh, and then the Duchess will have her baby.
My predictions are, unfortunately, I do think George and Bertha are going to get divorced, and it kills me because I love them as a couple. I don't think that Larian is going to last. I think she's being set up to be the sad sack of the show. I do think that, yeah, my only concern with Peggy and Dr. Kirkland is when they get married, it's still what it is. The times are still what they are. And I just find it hard to believe with his mother in his ear that he's not going to start expecting her to be more of a wife. That's my concern there. Clock Twink, I think, is going to end up. So there's a huge, and they keep alluding to it, there's a huge depression coming up. 1898 was a huge depression, and the banks all failed. And I have a feeling that Clock Twink might lose his fortune and end up back at the house some sort of way, because they keep alluding. They keep alluding to this bank crisis, which actually happened. And I think that's where Oscar will be saved because he's in Mrs. Winterhaven's life. But I have to think that Jack doesn't have the viperness of Oscar. He doesn't have the business savvy of Larry. And honestly, he doesn't want the money. So I can see something happening to where he ends up poor again, or at least swindled or about to be swindled, and maybe a little Irish girl saves him, Ethel, whatever her name is. Then I think that the Duchess and Duke, if they're happy, I'm bored. Let's just be honest, because you got rid of the sister. She needs to come back.
She's not going to leave. I don't think she's going to leave. I think she's still going to be around doing some fuckery. And I think she's going to be doing fuckery from afar.
And we need her to do fuckery. We absolutely do.
I love that that's Oscar's wife.
In real life. Yeah. So the downstairs.
I'm y'all some tight.
You're right. And then y'all go do a Broadway show together. So I think the downstairs staff at the Russell's house is so boring. I know they're supposed to be the comic relief. Yeah, they're awful. And whereas the downstairs staff at the Van Ryans is giving you Downton Abbey much more interesting.
Oh, so then maybe old girl's husband will die?
Which they've
the
got
one that's in the asylum. Yes.
Yeah, they need to do something. I think the downstairs staff of the Russell household is going to start being played more for laughs, because they're always up to some scheme or some little whodunit. And I think that's probably where they're going to go in life. I think that George will find a 20-year-old Twinkie, like all men do in that situation. And that's going to cause drama. And I think all your predictions are pretty spot on. I will say that Oscar has to find a new man, and I just don't see there being anyone of John Adams' stature, which means trade, which means he gets blackmailed or beaten, or, because at the end of the day, he still has to end badly because it's Julian Fellows. Now, Thomas managed to marry a movie star. Oscar ain't marrying a movie star.
Didn't get married.
Well, he went off to Hollywood with him and became his significant other.
His lover. So those are my predictions. I can't wait for the next season. I can't believe they ended it so quickly. This is bullshit. But is it going to take 2 years?
I'm like, y'all knew y'all was going to do this, so couldn't y'all do some extra episodes while you were... It doesn't make any sense to me why they just didn't keep going. So y'all need to figure it out, because we can't wait this long again in Gilded Age. We just can't. I can't. The vapors have got me. I just can't.
We're getting too old.
By the time the next show comes out, I will be collecting Social Security. So we need this to not happen again. And
we need more episodes. 8 episodes is not enough episodes. And I guess because it's so expensive.
But it's going to be more expensive next year. So just do it now. Get it put it in the can, as they say. Recycle
some of the dresses. We're not remembering every dress from every episode.
Right. Use the same carriage, paint it a different shade of black. So I predict, and just like that, we have not heard the end of those people. It might be in the a sense of Brady has a show later. It might, the children. But we have not heard the end of that show.
I don't know that I want that.
Yeah, but you know what? They're going to have to do it because nobody does telethons anymore. And at some point, Charlotte's plastic surgery is going to need to be updated. And she ain't going to have no money. because she doesn't do anything else. Everybody else does something else. So I watched a really bad movie where she went on a safari and met the doctor at the vet clinic. Like that's the only thing I've ever seen her do. Oh, one other thing. You know what we need from Golden Age? We need to
call it by its right name, the Gilded Age.
Gilded Age. And it happened during the Peggy sequence. We need a Christmas episode. We need a full-on, heartwarming Christmas episode. We need something. Lindsay Lohan.
So they could do that, and then that's when the Duchess has her baby.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, exactly. And that's it for me.
So, is there a prediction on when we'll get the episodes?
Hopefully after
2027.
Maybe Trump will choke on a cheeseburger, and to celebrate, they go back into the studio. I don't know. How
do we have to bring him in? Like, we did so well for the last 3 hours.
When I look to the future, I look to him dying. I can't sit. When I try to think of happy spaces,
that's where my heart goes.
Yeah, I just, la, 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 la. Death. Yeah, I hope
HBO will be called something else.
Right. Mix them. I have no hopes it'll be soon, and I hope it'll be soon. I can't wait another 2 years. That show has been going for 5 years, and we've only seen this is 3 seasons. Yeah, because whenever they're in interviews, they talk about how they started 5 years ago. And it's like when you think about AbFab was 30 years ago. So no,
it has been a long time. And in the beginning, they said they had a hard time, getting their audience and whatever, and people hadn't really caught on. And I mean, I was excited about it from the beginning, but that's also because I knew it was from Julian Fellows. And also, I like a good period piece.
The opening scene of the train, they caught me right there.
So we love the show. We're grateful for it.
Yep.
The only other thing I'll say is that Cynthia Nixon being in Gilded Age and Just Like That at the same time was interesting to watch because one was great and one was not.
He's probably the only one on And Just Like That. It's like, deuces, I'm good.
I'm fine. I've got other things to do. I'm doing multiple shows at the same time.
She's probably like, I don't know what y'all about to do, but I'm on a good show. I have erased all the Miranda hate with this other show. I'm good.
Right. And speaking of good shows, this has been a good show. Sticky Note Conversations is a good show. And I appreciate everyone listening to Sticky Note Conversations. I am your host, Erika Washington. And this is Derek Washington. And it's been fun.
Toodles.
Thanks for listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Hosted and executively produced by Erika Washington. With editing by Black Gypsy LLC and Simone Endres. Special thanks to KUNV 91.5 in Las Vegas. This show is powered by Make It Work Nevada, a project of Tides Advocacy. And a special thank you to Grove GT Teague and Eno Savad, who made our new theme song, Way Below Acceptable.